to get her apart. Who is going to water you now? It's a pity to see your flowers wither, the cacti say to neighboring flowers that are also in pots. You cacti are lucky because you don't need so much water. You can handle well without it, replies one of the flowers. Yes, we can spend a lot of time without water, but on the other hand, we are so sensitive when we have too much water. We rot away quickly. We have spikes and appear imposing just to compensate, so that no one thinks we are so fragile and can fall easily when overwatered, says one of the cacti. Well, now that Grandma is no longer with us, who is going to tell us how things really are? Says one of the flowers. And another flower follows saying, we will soon bear fruit, and the fruit will bear seeds, and each seed will be like one of us. It was Grandmother who taught me that it is not by giving more seeds that the solitude of each seed disappears. In fact, the more the seeds are in contact with each other, the less is the connection with each other. It is as if it were a river flow. By being forked several times, it loses its strength. I will miss Grandma and her teachings, says one of the cacti, but I have high hopes in your granddaughter because I know she gladly received my thoughts. Once we discussed the scientific method, that before the scientific method existed, a tree was just a tree. The sun was just the sun, the soil was just the soil, one person was just one person. Still in prehistory, rituals arose because intuition exists naturally alongside instinct. The intuition that there is a mandala, a tantra, a woven ball that unites us all. So it is the scientific method, but by reason, by the intellect. After all, the scientific discoveries about trees, the sun, the earth, and people are ultimately about deep and intimate connections. Each scientific discovery unravels deeper and deeper connections. She and I have come to the conclusion that over time, we will discover that there are such deep and intimate connections that we can bring everything so close that we can say that everything is everything. So is the future and the journey of science. And the cactus concludes, oh, the granddaughter has the grandmother's acumen. This situation, I'm not dealing very well with it. I've been imagining things talking, and on top of that, things are talking about me. It must be my mind trying to deal with this situation. My dear grandmother, sighs the granddaughter. She wakes up from this fantasy that she had lost control for a moment, but she returns to her internal monologue. I miss her already. And this pain, why do I suffer from this? How is it possible to feel suffering? Why did the universe, by design or by chance, happen to evolve something we humans call pain and suffering? Why does such a thing exist? The universe has no obligation to make sense to us humans. Perhaps this question simply has no answer, or maybe there is if I recognize myself belonging to the universe. There is pain and suffering of others that serve me, no matter how hard it is to admit it. Through the fractal nature of all things, can I then find that pain and suffering of all beings serve anyone? But who? Yes, the universe. For thus the consciousness of all beings, obliged to adapt and shape to eternally pursue well-being, the universe never gives up on itself, and thus it exists. A certain gentleman approaches the granddaughter of the deceased grandmother. He was already of a certain old age. He says, "I was very close to your grandmother. She was already centenary. It's a shame, but no one stays here. My condolences for your loss, but surely your grandmother already knew the day she was going to leave this world," he said. To which the granddaughter replies, "I am no longer sad at all. In fact, now I am quite introspective, as if I am having a review of all the teachings she left me." And says the old gentleman, "Your grandmother was a good person and an excellent shaman." The granddaughter says to comfort the man that she will always be in our hearts. The granddaughter does not believe the cliché she just said, but realized that this came out unintentionally. But the friendly gentleman rejoiced. The man continues, has the extension of his smile. "She told me once that the only way to be infinite is to be an act of trust." "Yes, my grandmother had interesting aphorisms," the granddaughter says, and continues, "I remember her first teaching. It was a field trip, and I was still a little girl. She taught me that there is beauty in everything. We easily appreciate the beauty in younglings, precisely because they are young. The novelty of all the things interests us. The novelty itself has even a certain innate aesthetic sense. So my grandmother would say, 'Look at this flower that has blossomed. How beautiful! And now look at the rotten apple on the floor, but also with its newly blooming spots. What beautiful spots! They are like flowers, right there,' says the granddaughter. I saw the true beauty of youth. In people, the acne that has blossomed from the skin, then over time scars that also open like flowers, and at last wrinkles, are the most recent in old age. My God, such youth, the beauty of what is new. After all, we always have something new in us." The friendly old gentleman agreed, nodding with his head a yes, and says, "It seems to me that you have the vocation of your grandmother. Are you still a university professor? Who knows, when you retire or fed up with the academic world, you can dedicate yourself to the calling." "I still teach, but less, because I'm working on my postdoc," answers the granddaughter, and says the old gentleman, "Always a scientist, always studying. So what is it about?" "It's astrophysics," answers the granddaughter. "Oh, but that's very interesting. There you go. That's almost your grandmother's craft." And the old gentleman concludes, "Think about it, because it's one thing to describe the menu and another to eat from the plate." They both smile as the friendly old man walked away. The granddaughter notices the reflection of a candle in the church stained glass next to the coffin. She realizes that despite people's memories of her grandmother fading over time, in each other's minds, her actions, without we realizing it, continues to influence our hearts. They continue to influence the rhythm of our being. If the sun explodes, on planet Earth we still have the stars shining for 8 minutes. And in some parts of the world, there will still be someone enjoying their sunset, eating ice cream, or even taking their last selfie. We are all stars subjectively, and at the same time, we are all mirrors for each other. If I had a giant plane mirror with a perfect reflective index, reflecting the sun into the direction of planet Jupiter, for example, that sun reflected in the mirror would be smaller than the original size of the sun seen at the same distance. And if in Jupiter's position I had a second giant mirror reflecting the first mirror, this last reflection on the sun would be even smaller, but still possible to register what it was. By continuing this process with infinite giant plane mirrors that perfectly reflect the sun reflections of preceding mirrors, the star's image would become infinitesimal but never extinguishing. The register, the information, the reflection of the sun never extinguishes, only tends to be an infinitesimal. We all reflect light at certain frequencies. It's the colors. We are mirrors reflecting the primordial and divine light, and this reflected flame that we are never goes out. It only becomes an infinitesimal participating in the rhythm of existence.